Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bold Unstoppable Show. I'm Dr. Rochelle Marie Lawson, known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And tonight I have four esteemed panelists with me. And tonight we're going to be discussing or talking about Under Siege. And the theme of this show this evening is violence against women, safety and survival. From domestic violence to harassment, stalking, assault, and digital abuse, women's safety is constantly under threat. And this episode is going to hold space for survivors and truth tellers. The panelists will discuss the realities of violence against women, why so many suffer in silence, and the emotional, physical, financial costs of not feeling safe in your own home, workplace, or community. So, if you don't know, you might want to just grab your favorite beverage, tell your family to give you some time, or invite your family to watch the show with you because we're going to be having some really candid conversations this evening. And I want you all to feel safe, secure, and comfortable while we talk about this very difficult subject, and it's violence against women. Not as a statistic, not as a headline, and not as a distant story, but as a reality that too many of our sisters live with every single day. I know I grew up in a family that had domestic abuse going on, and I know some of my friends and some people I'm really close with also experienced emotional manipulation. Some of them have experienced sexual violence. I'm sure all of us on this show this evening, the panelists, as well as myself, we've experienced some workplace harassment and even online threats. And so women's safety, our safety is constantly under siege. Now, I know some of you watching have survived things you've never spoken of, and I have too. Some of you are still in situations you cannot leave, and I totally understand. When the timing is right, you will leave. And some of you love someone who is suffering, but you do not know how to help. And so that's why we have these conversations. This space is for you tonight. Feel free to chime in if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever the show you may be seeing us live. Feel free to chime in. The chat is open, and I will look at the chat, and I will definitely bring any points that you all want to discuss to our panelists this evening. We're not here to sensationalize pain. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to have some real conversations, to name the patterns, honor the survivors, and remind every woman listening, you are not to blame for someone else's violence. You are worthy of safety, and you're worthy of peace. And so tonight I have four esteemed panelists, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you all right now, starting with Ree.
Hi, I'm Ree. My personal story of abuse started when I was about 3 years old and lasted throughout my life. I've primarily done animal rescue, but even with that, there was the crossover with domestic violence because you can't take pets to shelters, or pets will be ransomed or just killed in revenge. So I started working in domestic violence as well. So I mostly work in nonprofit, one way or the other, still dealing with domestic violence issues.
Thank you, Ree, for being a guest this evening. I appreciate you. Okay, Miss Rebecca VJ, you're on, girl.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm based in New Delhi, India, and here, and I'm a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, international bestselling author, publisher, speaker, freelance journalist. My story took a turn from corporate life when I wrote about my journey through the loss of my son, my firstborn twin son, on the third day. So I wrote about him in My Angel in Heaven, and that changed my life, and that changed the entire trajectory. What I thought was a detour has become my direction, and even though now it's like 17 years since he passed away, I'm glad now his legacy is there. And so now I help other women to own their voice, share their story, and leave a legacy behind.
I love it. Thank you for joining us, Rebecca, all the way from New Delhi. Woo! We're international tonight. All right, Miss Briana Bass, you are up.
Hi there, my name is Briana Bass, and I am a board-certified clinical sexologist in the downtown Dallas area. I own a practice there and then one also in Austin, Texas. I work with couples and men and women individually, lots of couples work though. And my space sort of involves anything you can think of on the relational area as far as communication and then intimacy in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. But that's what I do.
Well, welcome, Brianna. I salute you for the work that you're doing. I know it's difficult, but it's also can be very rewarding as well. Miss Dawn Evans, you're up, girl.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you so much, Dr. Lawson, for having me. I mean, this panel, international, I am just excited to be here. Thank you so much. My name is Dawn Evans. I am a Florida native. I currently reside in the great state of Texas. I am the founder of SQ Leadership Institute. And what I do is I study leadership, specifically for new leaders. So I use science, I use faith, and I use cognitive research to develop and kind of help new leaders transition through growth and, you know, how we use those innate skills and those innate tools to do that. So I'm super excited to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So we've got 3 people here in Texas, 1 in New Delhi, and Ree, you didn't say where you're from. Where are you chiming in from?
Spokane, Washington.
Spokane. I love Spokane, being a West Coast girl. So, all right, ladies, thank you so much for your time, your grace. I appreciate you. Let's get into the juice. So my first question for you this evening is, if you feel comfortable sharing, what is your personal connection to this topic of violence against women? And whoever wants to take that question, just go ahead and chime in.
Since I started a little bit with that, I guess I could elaborate a little bit. When my parents divorced, I was very little. When we were living on the reservation, my dad being Native American, we were on the reservation. We came back into Spokane, and my mom's job was a nanny, but they had all the channels there. So the older boys were experimenting, but they didn't care who they were experimenting on. So from a very, very young age, I was exposed to a lot of behaviors. And at the time, because I was so little, I had no reference, nowhere to turn to, didn't know what was really right or wrong or anything. And then when I did go to my mom after a little while and tried to tell her, she was very angry with me about it. And so everything got turned on me. It was very impactful in that respect. So the entire rest of my life became highly sexualized. And it wasn't until I was about 16 or 17 that I started realizing how messed up the whole situation was. So unfortunately, that did extend into my marriage, 20 years of marriage, divorced, and now I'm finally getting my life straight and on track. And it's something that hurts you for years and years, physically and emotionally. It can really mess you up.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing, Ree, because that is very personal. And thank you for your bravery. And thank you for getting out of the situation and the situations that have led you to being the woman that's free now. My background is I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse and do a lot of things, but I've been a nurse for 36 years. And my background is emergency room trauma, flight nursing. In my emergency room forte, so to speak, I came across, or I had a lot of patients that were sexually abused, raped, beaten, all of the above. And my heart went out to each and every one of those ladies and guys. Mainly, it was mostly ladies. I want to say it was about 95% ladies, but it took them a lot of strength to just be able to tell me what had happened to them and what brought them in with these very traumatic injuries and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, Reed, for standing in your bravery and freeing yourself, because now your life is just brand new and it's beginning in a whole new direction, and you've got a beautiful aura. And so I know you're going to change worlds for women around the world that will hear your story and communicate and connect with you. So thank you so much. Anyone else want to say anything with regards to that first question?
You know, Dr. Lawson, you made a great point. Ree, you made an excellent, very interesting statement that it started at a very young age. And for me, my first experience, and it's crazy that I'm just speaking about this public, hearing myself have this conversation out loud and with, you know, other women, strong women, it's beyond. But I was in early adulthood, about 19 years old, and I did not see that type of physical abuse as a child. So I was 18, 19, out on my own for the first time, and really conflicted with, what is this? What's going on? Does this happen to everybody? Is it just me? You know, who do I tell? And especially never experiencing or seeing abuse as a child, I thought that I was the only one going through this. Nobody would believe me, and that it was just, you know, far-fetched. So the fact that we're having this conversation tonight, it never goes out of style. I'll tell you, you know, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm certainly not 19 anymore. And the fact that this conversation is still as relevant and as important today in 2026 as it was back in the day, just it speaks multitudes.
Thank you, Don, for sharing that. Yes, I agree. I think it's pretty sad that we're still having this conversation. I remember being a kid growing up, and my parents used to go at it. I mean, my dad was a big dude, and my mom they would go toe to toe. And me and my brother, who was 4 years younger than me, I always felt. So I was a kid that would always jump in, right? I was always like trying to help my mom. I was that girl. So, but I always thought that if my dad really wanted to, if he would have clocked my mom, he could have killed her, because he was a big guy. And my only thing I really wanted to protect, other than my mom and trying to help her, was my brother, who was 4 years younger than me. And so a lot of times in families that have some type of abuse, the pattern continues. And because we don't talk about it in our own families, because we don't feel safe, we don't feel comfortable, and you think, what did I do wrong? The pattern continues generationally. And so I think that's why it's important to have these conversations today, to let women know it's okay to talk to someone. And if you can't talk to someone in your family, or you don't feel comfortable talking to your friends, there's people like Briana that you can go and have a conversation with. Because what I see happens to us ladies is we keep this inside, we bottle it up. And when you bottle things up, eventually some area or some aspect or some, time in your life, it's gonna come out, and it's not gonna come out pretty, because you're just acting out, you don't know. So that's why I think this conversation is so important, to let ladies know there are people you can talk to. If you can't talk to someone in your family, just go out and reach out for that person, because that person is waiting to help you. But you got to make that first move. And like Reed did, you got to take that first step. Now, ladies, my next question is, why do you think so many women stay silent about abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, financial, or sexual? And I think I want Briana to take this one, because this is the aspects of things that she does. So Briana, do you mind answering that question for us and giving your insight into why that happens?
Yeah, the number one reason that I hear anecdotally, which is different than what statistics and data would tell you, so someone else if they want to speak to that piece, but anecdotally with the women that I work with, above all, the number one reason I hear is that if they know that they're not ready to walk out the door and they disclose to any friends or family, those friends and family will hate that partner. and will be against them. And so rightfully so, right? Friends and family doing what they do, they care for you, they love for you, and they're going to be saying, no, he can't come around anymore. No, you need to be getting out of this. They're going to be cheerleading and advocating for you to exit. So if I tell everyone this, if I disclose the truth about this circumstance and I'm not ready to face all of that music or get out, do something about it, I'm going to lose all those friends and family, and I'll be even more isolated than I already feel like I am. So I carry the secret. I protect the partner. I protect this relationship because I'm not ready to go yet. So that's the number one reason why I hear when I speak with women who are carrying this heavy load and have these secrets, is they're too afraid to tell somebody, just for fear of not being willing to take action at the particular moment on it. So they know what they'd be signing up for. So for the friends and family, right, we want to be really delicate with that. If we know that somebody isn't in a position to exit immediately, we have to show them support without kind of doubling down on that, because now we're putting it where they're going to lie to us. They're not going to tell us the truth or come to us anymore, understandably so. So yeah, talking to somebody like me in a confidential setting, a neutral third party, a therapist, can be so incredibly healing and get you on this journey, because yeah, sometimes it's the only person you've got.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Sometimes or oftentimes, the type of abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, financial, whatever, it happens. It's generational. So I don't think a lot of times as us women, we're raising our kids, we're trying to keep everything together. We turn a blind eye to some things. I don't think that women understand that the behavior that children see are the behaviors that they repeat, because that's how they learn how to respond to things. And so it's very, very important. And again, what Briana said, sometimes you can't go to your friends because you don't want them to think bad about the person when they really should be thinking they should kick his ass. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I'm gonna be real. We need to gang up and just beat the shit out of him. But that creates chaos for the person that may go back. And a lot of times women will leave their abuser and they will go back because the abuser says he's changed or she's changed or whatever the case may be. And so just being there and being able to have that person that just listens, not give advice, not take any judgment, allows that person that's in that abusive situation to go back in and have a little bit comfortable. And over time, eventually when someone's ready to leave, they leave. But sometimes they're ready to leave and then they end up leaving a different way and not being able to return. So Rebecca, what's your take on this? Because I have a lot of, because I'm an Ayurvedic girl and I have a master's degree in Ayurveda and I use that in my clinical practice and in my businesses. What's your take with violence with regards to women and the things we're discussing here that occur in India?
Yeah, I think a lot of women feel guilty about what's happening with them, and they don't want to share about it so that people are not judgmental about it. And if they open up about it, it could be turned as you are not doing this, that's why this is happening to you, or like somewhere the blame always comes on the women rather than whoever, whether male or female, who is doing it to them. And through all my years of interacting with women on sharing their stories, I've come across so many like really sad stories that like we've actually cried over our calls, that women are going through those situations, be it abuse, be it sexual harassment, assault. And it's very difficult for people to come up and own their story, that this is what's happening, because they will face the repercussions of it. People might sue them, people might question what they are saying. So I think it's very difficult in like many situations that they are in, to come up and openly share about it, because like people around us are not that open and receptive.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing. It's very interesting. We women, we get very protective And it is what it is. That's just how we're made, right? But we do get very protective, and so and then sometimes we blame ourselves, like, or if you say something to somebody and they say, well, what's your problem? What do everybody does that, or it must be your fault, and it's not. Physical, emotional, sexual, financial, all of those abuses are not our fault. We just happen to be the recipient of someone else's bad behavior. And a lot of times that bad behavior has been bred upon them because that's what they saw growing up. And so, and that's how they learned how to react and respond to things. So it's a very interesting dynamic. It's definitely not right. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we give women strength to help them overcome some situations that they really do need to get out of. I mean, it gets really crazy, and I may share more stories about stuff I saw growing up. But then my next question, ladies, is this: what are some subtle or early signs of abuse that women might overlook or just normalize? Who wants to take that question?
Before we jump in on that, I just want to say one really quick supporting thing to what everybody has been saying. One of the things that I talk about with people who work with us in our nonprofit is it's amazing how these things are international. You have the 4B movement going on. You've got all of these things. Iceland is having walkouts. This is a global woman's issue. And it's scary how similar it is no matter the culture or the location. So this is not something that is your fault or your thing. This is definitely something that happens, and we don't have, like, we talk about generational wealth or things like that, but we don't talk about generational knowledge that we can pass down. And we are using right now an amazing technology so that we can share these things. And what's making things different is those kinds of things, because normally we go through these cycles of like a Renaissance and a Dark Age, but right now we are having a Renaissance and a Dark Age at the same time.
Yes.
So we are able to use this pivotal point to save a lot more people and get on a much better track.
Thank you, Ree, for sharing that. Thank you so much, because it is important. When I grew up in the 60s and 70s, there was no platform like this, and so I look at my mom and her friends. I want to say out of 10 of her friends that they all grew up, they all married their high school sweethearts and all of that. Out of 10 of them, 9 of them were probably physically abused. You know what I'm saying? And it was just a thing that just happened. Oh, that just happened, girl. That man he was drunk or whatever. There was all these excuses made. But when you look at that generation, what were little girls like me seeing, in the 70s? And, how were we, what examples were we, how we were learning to respond to these certain things? And so having this new, as you say, Renaissance platform where we're in all different parts of the world and the country, and we're sharing wisdom. And it's amazing how each and every one of us has experienced some of the same type of thing of what we're talking about. So it is a global thing. It's not, an isolated West Coast thing or New York, it's a global thing. And the more we can bring awareness and the more we can help women understand you're not alone, the better it is for all of us. Okay, so my question was, what are some subtle or early signs of abuse that women might overlook or normalize? Anybody want to share that?
I've got to hop, so I'll just say real quick to chime in. I think any kind of financial control, any kind of financially controlled system is under talked about as a starter sign of abuse and kind of going down the direction of just being disproportionate or inequitable when it comes to control in the relationship. The other thing I'd say would be like digital, right? Like texting, abusive language. So let's say there's been not a single physical aspect, but just texting that, right? And audio messages and calling and then blocking somebody very freely, stonewalling them, all of that stuff that lives between our phones. The financial and the phone aspect, I think, are huge starter, big warning signs, other than the very obvious ones like isolating you from friends and family, putting your friends down, giving you a hard time when you want to go out or something like that, right? To kind of whittle you away to where you feel so down on yourself and you feel so solo in life, right? But yeah, the financial and the phone aspect, I don't hear talked about very often. And I think those are always at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you, Brianna. Thank you. I also think the whole gaslighting term that really became prevalent, I think, right before COVID and during COVID, gaslighting, that's such a form of abuse where the abuser puts it back upon the abusee, and it makes them think that they're imagining things. Not good at all. Ladies, anyone else want to share anything with regards to other signs that tend to be normalized during this time period of what's happening with the abuse?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of Brianna. Certainly, financial control, where the other partner may initially suggest, "I'll take care of you." They want to in some way establish
Control.
dependence, right? They want
Yeah.
to establish some type of dependence. Don't worry, you may have a car problem. Instead of getting your car repaired, don't worry about it. I'll just take you wherever you need to go. You can drive my car when you need to, and that comes with stipulations. On a random Tuesday, they not feeling you. You might be home all day, regardless of what you need. You may be under punishment, even as a full-grown adult. You may be on punishment. I'll take it back to there are just some other markers, but I'll take it back to what I study, and I'll have to say this: there's a range, right, depending on personality. But something that I've found where I can bypass figuring out those markers because I'm always coming back to that gut, that gut feeling, that innate feeling that I don't know about that, or just that, and that is what I talk about: spiritual intelligence, discernment, intuition. Like, even if it doesn't add up right at the beginning, even if it's so good to be true, still stick a pin in it, because your gut, that feeling that lives right here in the middle of your stomach, it will not lead you wrong. Just stick a pin in it and you'll circle back and figure out why, Mr. is, a little bit to the left. So,
Yeah. Trust your gut instinct. It will never, ever, ladies, lead you astray. If you feel something in your, as we say, our sacral solar plexus or root chakras, it's telling you, the essence is communicating with you, and you need to pay attention to that. The longer you don't pay attention, the more things become prevalent until you're wrapped up in it and you don't even know what has happened. So I totally agree with that. Okay, ladies. Now this question is, how has culture, religion, or family messaging made it harder for women to leave unsafe situations or speak up? And we kind of already talked about this a little bit, but if there's any other additional words of wisdom that you want to share with all of those that will be seeing us, that are watching us now, that we may have neglected, feel free to speak up. Rebecca, Reed, anybody?
I think one of the things here in America that we could learn from and would help us recognize these things is the Willie Lynch letter. I don't know if you guys have read that. It's about 23 pages. Some people debate whether or not it's our authentic historical document or made up, but to me, that doesn't matter. The point still is that the way they talked about how they broke down slaves and segregated people, and they said that once you put that in place, it perpetuates itself.
Yeah.
So you have the devaluation of one another, hair color, eye color, skin color, how much money they make, what kind of car or clothes or whatever. The more we devalue each other, the easier it is for people to be predated upon.
Woo! That is a mic drop right there. Thank you. If you ladies say the letter. What's the name of the letters again? I haven't read that, but I want to.
The Willie Lynch letter. The folklore is that lynching comes from Willie Lynch.
Oh.
And he was an owner, and how he treated his slaves was supposedly so awesome. And he didn't have problems with his slaves because he used these methodologies. And when he would break people down, and how he sorted everyone so that some people could work in the house, some people had to work in the field, some people had to have latrine duty or whatever. And it was because of this segregation and promotion that he turned people against each other and made himself look like a hero because he treated these people so well. So he got all the people to be hating and arguing with each other, tattling on each other and all this stuff, when he was the one who was actually making all the money from everybody.
Right.
So yeah, he had it mapped down to all these different details that you could segregate people by and then make them hate each other for it.
Wow. And if they didn't obey, you lynch them. Yeah. Wow. That's deep. Woo, Reed. Thank you for sharing that. So the Willie Lynch letters, you guys, if you don't know, Google it and check it out. Okay. Let me ask this question. For those who have survived, what did your path lead to, or what did your path to leaving or healing look like? And what made support a difference? What support did you receive that made it different? Anyone want to share? I'll tell a story. So, I already talked about my parents, and the funny thing is, they were my dad was my mom's high school sweetheart, although he was, older than her. I think she was in high school, he was out. But they got divorced, and they got remarried, and then they got divorced a few years later. But I think for her, it was a comfort. He was her first. She really did deeply love him until she didn't love him anymore. But it took everybody's, I think, journey takes a little bit more, sometimes you have to experience a little bit more challenges than the next person that may have left the first time or whatever. And so with regards to just being able to survive the path that she did, and me seeing that as a little girl, instead of following that path, my thing was, if a man ever hits me, I'm going to kill him, because I didn't want to be like my mom. And I knew all the stuff my dad was doing, and I didn't want to be like that. So in my mind, I had the complete opposite. If you raise your hand to me, you better be ready to die. Fortunately, that didn't happen. But I think a lot of, and the other thing is, I grew up around a bunch of boys. I'm the only girl in both sides of, on both sides of the grandchildren. So just seeing the behaviors and paying attention and knowing what to look for. And I was a little skinny girl growing up. I think it led me to have some resilience, but then I had friends that I had to be strong for them when they were coming out of situations, because they didn't have anybody to give them any resilience. And so again, it comes to supporting those people that we love and care about, and supporting them in the way where we're not trying to give them advice. We're just being there to listen. We're not judging. And, and I think it's a powerful move when someone comes to you and say, you know what? Can you help me? Like those girls would do in the emergency department, because the abuser would be sitting out in the waiting room sometimes. And I'd be like, oh, let me call the cops, and we're going to have you go out this way or whatever. Can't control what happens after the fact, after they left. But my hope was that they had got the strength and the wherewithal to not go back to their abuser and find help and security and some safety amongst their living. But, sometimes these girls are living on the street, and so they're prone to a lot of things that we wouldn't want our girls to go through. So I think, again, if there's any inkling of anything that is off and you feel it in your gut, double check, make some changes, be more observant. And in the end, you will find a path to survival. Now, ladies, this question I have is, how can friends, coworkers, or family members better support a woman they suspect is not safe without shaming her or pressuring her? Because I know we've all been in a situation where we've seen it, we know what's going on, we just don't know how to approach the person that we love and care about who we're seeing that's going through this. How can we do that? How can we do it without making that person feel bad, shame them, or they start getting defensive and defending the abuser? Rebecca, would you like to chime in on this?
I think focus on the person rather than, what will people say, what will they think of you. So share with them that, you have a safe haven waiting for you. And no matter what time, we are there. We are always, available for you. Uh, because somewhere that hesitance is there, that, will they actually be there when I need them? So just to have the doors open, calls open, anytime you need me, I'll be there. No matter what other people say, I'm there.
I love it. Don, do you want to say anything with regards to that question?
Absolutely. Now that we've all had experiences, I would say walking into old relationships, even new relationships, new colleagues, new neighbors, now that we've had experiences, we know better, right? So we do better. And what I mean by that is don't wait for a sign. Don't wait for a black eye. Don't wait for somebody to winch when you touch them. Don't wait for someone to, send you a Instagram reel that, you have to say, oh, I wonder what made them go this direction. Every interaction, every relationship, even if we started today, even if we started tonight, even if we started when we end this live, it should immediately start flowing into, I support you. If you ever need anything, I understand. No judgment. One thing that I do notice is, especially from social media, right? You'll have women that are a little bit catty towards one another. And a dig is, I don't know about, across the world or internationally, but a dig is, if you want to really dig at a lady, you may say, you need to get keep your man from doing X, Y, Z. You can't even keep your man from, we use that as a weapon against other women to, minimize them, to kind of bring them back down if we feel like they're getting a little bit too, mighty. So that's something that I would say is from here. I mean, even for me, from now on, all my interactions, even if the woman or the man never says I'm having this issue, my approach is always going to be an open door policy. What you need, if you need support, if it's verbal, mental, sexual, emotional, if you need support, like, I'm that person. If I can't give you the resources because, like Dr. Lawson, like Briana, some things require a professional. But if you need just for me to direct you or help you kind of navigate, hold your hand, yeah, I think that's a good way to lead every relationship with acceptance.
Thank you. Also,
Agreed.
Ree, go ahead.
I think that the best way to prevent is to protect. If we're showing up for each other, if we have community, then we're not that lone gazelle out there that the hyenas and lions and stuff are trying to predate upon. If we have community and we're all looking out for each other, we're safer.
That right there. Rebecca, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, like we've all mentioned, I think open-ended support without any questions.
I love it. You ladies have been beautiful because I agree with everything you say. And the other thing I want to say is for us here and for any of the ladies out there watching or the fellas, you know what I mean? If you are with a woman and you get a gut feeling about something is not right with that person, pay attention. She may never ever say anything to you, but if you get that gut feeling, pay attention. Don't go diving deep in like, hey girl, what's going on? You know, don't go diving in, but pay attention. Every time you see that woman, the next time, that gut feeling if something is off will get stronger and stronger and stronger, and to a point where you know you will feel the right moment to say, hey, you know what? I've been noticing, you know, let me know if I'm stepping out of line, but is everything okay? Is everything okay? If they can't look you in the eyes and tell you everything is okay, everything is not okay. And that is your moment to say, hey, you know what? I don't know what's going on in your life, but I'm here for you. Whatever you need, whatever it is you need, I'm here for you. And you don't have to worry about anything because this is between you and I. That right there, I think, is what we sometimes as women neglect to do. And I know all of us have felt something with somebody we know, a friend, family, whatever. Pay attention because our guts do not lie to us. It's our intuitiveness, right? And so I just want to say that. Okay, now we're coming up on time. So I've got one more question to ask you, ladies, before we close the evening out tonight. To the women watching right now who is afraid to leave, afraid to speak, or afraid to believe she deserves better, that right there. What do you want to say to her directly? And I'm going to start with you, Rebecca. What would you want to say to that woman?
You are not alone. You are surrounded by people who care for you, who will pray for you, who will share whatever you need. Just be a little open, confide in them, and get the support you need, because you know you're walking on eggshells, but they can take care of you if you will allow them to.
I love it. Don, what's your message to that lady or gentleman, but that lady?
It's not easy. It won't be easy. Don't expect it to be easy. It may be one of the hardest things that you ever do. But trust me, it will be the best decision that you make for yourself. It's the first day. Making that decision is the first day of the rest of your life. It won't be easy, but it'll be the best thing you ever did.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. And Ree, what would you say?
If you're having troubles doing something for yourself because you have issues with maybe your worth or your escape plan or something like that, and you need to reframe this a little bit, you can still think of it as doing something for your partner too, because even if your partner is doing violence, that means that they need the situation to change as well. So by getting help, and especially getting really appropriate help, you might be saving them at the same time. So even if you can't focus on yourself just yet, and you need to reframe that to start taking those first steps, when you really love someone, you got to do what's best for them too. So even if you're doing it for them, at least you're taking the right steps to get help. You don't want those next people, because if you get out, who's that next person that's going to be a victim? So you can do it for them too. You both need to heal from this.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. This has been, I think, a powerful conversation. I appreciate your candidness, your openness. It's conversations like this that we may start small, but if we continue the conversation outside of the room, outside of the presence that we're in right now, the small things grow. And who knows, we may have started something where women begin to speak up and speak out and defend themselves in the right, appropriate way. Not like go out and buy a gun and shoot that person, although you may want to do that too. but you know, it's having I think the comfort and the security and the peace knowing that you're not being judged. You are someone that is being supported, and that person or those people that are coming to support you are doing it out of the kindness and the goodness of their hearts, but they want to see goodness and they want to see you get out of a bad situation. So thank you, ladies, for your time. As I close out, I want to say thank you to all of you for watching. I know, ladies and gentlemen, this was a very heavy conversation, and I know it does happen with men as well. Women can be abusers, or your partner, you know, if you're in a gay relationship or whatever the case may be. The conversation needs to be handled, it needs to be shared, and the wisdom needs to be discussed. Nothing is right. I should say one solution is not right for everybody, but a culmination of information can be very powerful and impactful for you. So stand strong. It's not an easy decision. It's a very hard. I just remember when my mom left the first time. We were little. She didn't know where to go. She had no place to stay. She didn't want to go back to her mama's house, but she found a way. And even though it was difficult, she did it. And she gave me the strength to, if I needed to get out of a situation, I just looked at how strong my mom was and took her strength and kind of absorbed it into myself. So if it's someone that like that you need to do that with, go ahead and do that. And to every survivor who has ever questioned if it was that bad, if it was your fault, or if anyone you would ever believe you, hear me now. It's not your fault. You deserve better. You deserve to be treated like the queen that you are. And you did not deserve, or you do not deserve that abuse that you may be going through. And to my courageous panelists, thank you for your vulnerability, your wisdom, and your compassion, and your time. You reminded us that survival is not weakness, it's strength. And when we come together as a gender, as women, we become so powerful and so strong that no man could break us down. And to every woman watching, if this episode hits close to your home, or it feels close to you, or you feel some kind of way about it, please don't let that shame silence you. Reach out to someone safe, because again, you're not alone. You're not crazy, and you're not overreacting. Your safety really does matter, especially if you have children, If this conversation opened your eyes, share it. You never know whose life might be impacted by hearing these truths that these ladies and myself shared with you this evening. And don't forget to subscribe, because this show is committed to bringing light into the darkest corners of our experiences as women. I'm Dr. Rochelle Marie Lawson, your queen of feeling fabulous, and this has been the Bold Unstoppable Show. Until next time, may you feel safe. May you feel valued. May you feel cherished. May you be seen. And may you know you are worthy of a life free from harm. Because you know what? You are a queen. And it's time for you to command your throne. Take good care, everyone. And until next time, stay loving, stay compassionate, stay open, and stay aware, and pay attention. Because when we pay attention, we can always do so much better for those of them, or those of us that stay in silence and with our blinders on. Take good care, everyone, and goodbye for now. And if you love the show, please subscribe to the show and share this show with every woman you know, because you never know who you may share it with. You may not think they need to hear this message, but this message these ladies shared tonight may be the blessing in disguise that helps them to get into a safer situation. Okay, I'm done. Thank you, ladies, and thank you, audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lawson.